but I mean, she means any narrative, and particularly any extended narrative. She says about the novel, it can only be said that there are no rules,
What?
right? So we can give you guidelines, like I can tell you what worked for me, but I can't tell you how narrative works, really.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, sort of like if you're enjoying something, I think it was Roger Ebert who said about like the 1999 The Mummy that it is a terribly flawed movie, but he had a smile on his face for every second of it.
Right. And so the flaws are obviously secondary, and that's the problem with the MFA approach, right? Is that we pretend that if you solve the flaws in your story, it'll be good, and it does. The flaws don't matter if the story isn't good. The flaws don't matter. It doesn't matter if you correct them, and if the story is good, it doesn't matter if your story is flawed.
It's like taking 3 left turns to go right. Just, yeah.
We're ready.
Is that our
we're streaming
Disco.
Oh, I am so in love.
Yeah,
we're streaming. This is I have Johnny Silverhand's Porsche.
You were telling me about, Clevo? Is that the 1977 whale tail Porsche you were telling me about?
Yeah,
it doesn't have like a full whale tail, but that's beautiful. Look at that. Yeah, I bought a game.
I love the license plates.
I bought a game that lets you. That's about running a garage where you fix up old cars and stuff. And I don't even play the game. I just go into the showroom and look at the cars, and spin them around, and give them new paint jobs.
Unity just put out something about how they're working on like car type stuff. I can't remember exactly what it entailed, but they made it sound like it was a big thing. Like they were like, cars are gonna be crazy. Like you can look at them real good in our new Unity.
That's all I need,
finally.
Man. That and the Yaw VR. Now I'm going to reveal to you on this stream for the first time. Let's see. There's the Yaw VR. It's not assembled yet, but it will be.
Looks really cool, for even just in its current unassembled state.
Yeah, it's just like it's just like this weird hemispherical seat, and then a base with a motor and gimbals. You just nail the seat to the motor, and we got the professional one because it's not our money.
Yeah.
So we got the professional one with the super motor that will toss you out of the seat.
And
it can rotate. It can yaw 360 degrees really, really fast. And it can pitch and roll 70 degrees, and it can do it so fast it will throw you out of the seat. It's like most people run it at about 50%, because if you rev that motor up to 100%, it's really banging you around. And
when you go to an MFA with a helmet on, you're having a good time.
Right, exactly. That's the MFA I want. That's the MFA I want. Like,
well, imagine riding like a chase scene. Oh, go ahead, Cleveland. Sorry.
I've told him that he needs to get like a jersey, like a football jersey that says "Thesis Offense" on it.
Yeah, so whenever I go to a defense, I'm clearly the offense.
Hello, we are Neophyte Studio. I think the alert went out. Are we streaming effectively? Are we doing it?
I believe so.
Is everything happening?
Yeah, down because last week.
There we go.
I was really spitting some truth early on, and the sound was not going out, and that shit is lost.
Yeah, that stream. The beginning of that stream was like we had attained a new higher level of being. We were like, wow, we're actually doing really good.
They're fucking lost. So we're talking more about Cyberpunk. Pinckney's very interested. He still hasn't played it, in our Cyberpunk stories to see if this is a good story delivering engine, aside from the main narrative, if cool things, interesting things can happen in the world. So we are going to be regaling with some tales of Night City, and who would like to go first? Yeah, story time of Night City.
I love this. I would rather do this than play the game. Assuming the stories are as good as I'm betting they are.
Right. Well,
Okay,
let's have Cleveland go
so-
first.
Yeah, I haven't
shoot.
played in a few. I haven't played in a few days just due to some other stuff, as well as the fact that I don't know what's up, but every time it updates, I have to reinstall the entire game because some files get
Not
screwy.
surprising.
Oh,
Not
wow.
surprising at all.
So I have to uninstall and then reinstall it every time. So I haven't played in a few days,
Mhm.
but I do have stories from when I have played.
The before time.
Well, share. Yeah.
My favorite one of them is so you know how you call your car, you hit the button and you call your car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is going to be a real thing. I mean,
Right,
so I
yeah.
think this is a warning to us from the future, probably.
You can hit a button to start your car.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I called my car, and you know how it's supposed to stop in front of you and you get in? Well, this time it didn't. It just kept going down the street, and I had to chase it.
Mm-hmm.
And I chased it for a good while. But then I got hit by a car that came up behind me, and my car got too far away.
Oh, is that
For
what we
me
look
to-
like?
No,
that's
this
Keanu
is
Reeves.
surprising. For some reason, I look like Johnny Silverhand right now. I don't know if it's.
I mean, dude.
Oh,
if I
are
could
you
get
looking in the
50
mirror? Are you looking
Yeah,
in the
I
mirror?
wanted to. I was gonna show off my character, but for some goddamn reason, which
Okay,
is a bad sign.
that happened to me. That happened to me too.
Every time I look in the mirror, I'm just bald, even though my character model technically has hair.
Dude, right? It's your hat. I've had the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
thing happen. I'm gonna try again.
That happens to the Johnny Silverhand
There we
thing
go.
happens too, even if you're playing a
Oh,
girl
wow.
too.
Oh my god.
That's great. Like, that's a really good look, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I it makes me happy that we're going to be able to look so awesome once 5G happens and Elon Musk gets us all incredibly fast internet. Like, I'll
Yeah.
never have to look like me again, except at my house.
Yeah, you kind of look like you. I don't really look like
I
me.
tried. I also
Yeah, no,
assumed I could change my character later, but
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I think they'll add that as DLC.
It'll
I think
all
they've
come.
talked
So-
about that.
So Clevo got run over by a car as he was chasing his car that was supposed to stop for him. And again, I think this is not so much a game as it is a warning from the future. This is they're trying to tell us, and when we find ourselves in this environment, we're going to be like, we should have listened.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and it's nice as we
there's-
were starting talking about stories, an interesting one popped up.
There are definitely some interesting stories that are kind of born out of it. I think you have to be thinking narratively as you play to kind of fill in those gaps. But like, so for example, at the beginning of the game, I was walking down the street just because I was like so taken aback by Night City, and I was kind of just looking around, looking up the buildings, and I heard a scream.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard a splat, and I turned, and there was a guy who had apparently fallen off of a building, and he had just hit the ground, or he was thrown off a building. I don't know, but he looked like a rich guy. He'd splattered on the
You don't
ground.
know, even though
There-
you saw this happen. That,
Yeah.
oh, that's
I've seen people fall down before. Yeah, I believe it. People have said that they are like committing suicide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
because
gotten
like,
a couple of those.
because when he splattered on the ground, then all of a sudden, like the medic people, the like ambulance showed up. And
so they reacted to so the city actually reacted to what this guy did.
I don't think so. I think it was more pre-planned. Like it's kind of
Okay.
like a guy died, and then when a guy dies, it triggers. It's not like GTA type reaction where like if you shoot an NPC, then the ambulance will come. But it
Okay.
doesn't matter because it's still the facade is still good enough, you know.
Yeah,
So
it bears verisimilitude. Right?
yeah, right.
It's convincing. It doesn't have to be real. It just has to be convincing.
Yeah, and it was very convincing. Like I turned and I saw him dead, and I was like, "Oh wow, there's like a mystery to that. Like I don't know if that guy killed himself, or I don't know if he was thrown off a building." So then
Right.
last night I was playing, kind of toward the end of the story. No spoilers or anything, but I found myself on the roof of a building, and I had just killed somebody and I needed to hide their body, and I looked to the edge of the roof of the building and I went, oh yeah, and I threw him off the edge of the building.
Dude, that's great. I mean, that's so novelistic, right? And I do think we ought to tell anybody who's watching the stream, like, so there could be spoilers any minute.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, we're not.
I
we're
am just
conversing
running
very
through random
freely.
quests.
Yeah. No, dude, I love watching it. I just
Yeah.
like you know
These
I mean,
fucking mega buildings. Okay, so
Isn't
like
that- yeah,
real
I mean,
quick.
it's like Judge Dredd, right? Like, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about, before we get back into stories, I want to talk about world building. So
Yeah.
one thing I've noticed that I have not seen a single person talk about is the anti-homeless design of the Night City. So I don't know how much you guys.
The spikes on the
benches.
benches.
I don't. Okay, Cleveland clearly knows. I don't know how much you guys know about anti-homeless urban design, but the benches are concrete and they are short. They have a short width, so you can't sleep on them. They'll have bars, not just on the side, but in the middle, so a person can't lay on them.
Yeah.
And they'll have random spikes. So all the benches in Night City have anti-homeless design.
What do you mean
Really subtle.
random spikes.
And these are things that are in American cities and around
Yeah.
the world right now.
See, I'm
But
telling
in
you,
Night City,
this is-
every single
this is
bench.
21st century prophecy.
Here's
This
one.
is where our prophecies are going to
See
come.
them?
Right.
Is in the form of
So you
games.
can't sleep on the bench. And I've not seen a single other person notice this. It's one of my favorite pieces of world building about the game.
No, Cleveland
That and the
the other
guns.
day. Cleveland was talking about like boulders and stuff in the real world, Clevo.
Boulders.
Yeah, you were talking about like people putting boulders in their neighborhood and stuff
Mm.
like that, so homeless people couldn't live there, but it also makes it really hard to kind of like just navigate the neighborhood. I remember you telling me about this just the other day.
I don't remember that.
Okay, well,
It could be one of your famous
my
fever
dream. It was
dreams.
my dream, son.
Yeah.
Well, one of you is a liar.
But aside from the benches, just the TVs, when I first booted up the game, I just stood there watching TV, and they
Yeah.
were going into the news development that becomes a central plot point about
The
the
debate,
ship.
the religious
debate.
guy, and the
Yep. It's absolutely killer, and I sat there for
If you
about
watch
15
that,
minutes.
It's real content. It's not
Real content.
and it's content that contributes to the story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See, that's
Yeah.
amazing because like even MFA writers, right? How often do I say, "Why is you tell me the TV is on, but you
Mhm.
don't tell me what anybody's seeing or hearing or anything like that?" Like use that not just coincidental plot stuff, but
Yeah.
atmospherics and just letting us know the nature of the world. Stuff like like the commercials in RoboCop or Starship
Yeah.
Troopers. Right.
Another
I
piece I
bought that
picked
for
up from the
$1.
TV was the political ads that the mayor of Night City died and he's being replaced.
well,
And I haven't
Lucius
seen
Ryan
it
is
come
the
up.
dead one. But
Okay, yeah. So Ryan is the dead one, and then there's the new guy, and I'm
And then
waiting
his
for it to
child-
come up.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's Ryan, and then there's Ryan. Ryan died, and he's sort of like a legitimately good mayor. People
Yeah.
like in canon actually like him, because he actually does support Night City. And then there's his vice mayor who has taken over his position, and he's sort of a scummy guy. And then there's Perales, who is a city councilman and is challenging the current mayor.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, and like all that happened in the background, the ads, and I'm
Yeah.
really waiting and hoping it comes up in a side quest or something. But
It
so
does.
far, I haven't seen it.
It comes up.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yep. I genuinely love the just kind of the atmospherics of like the bombardment of advertisements throughout the city. Like no matter where you go, there's
Yeah.
ads
Yeah.
everywhere.
Gee,
And-
that's not like our society at all.
Yeah, right.
And one of the things about that stuck out to me was even in the rich like corpo areas, you still see them in the plaza, but not in the building, but in the plaza.
Yeah. There's a
Well,
lot of very
that's
different
really-
things.
Really interesting.
Oh, Speaking of like the rich corporate area, have you met the Buddhist monk?
No.
Yes.
That poor guy.
That was a phenomenal quest where he just gave you a brain dance and then disappeared. That was amazing.
So, in what role, if any, does like AI and robotics and stuff like that play in this world? I mean, you can call your car, and
Yeah.
does the car auto drive, or do you have to drive the car when you're in it?
You
You
do
drive it.
drive, but you can call the car to you.
Right.
I did hear an ad in the game on the radio about the I think it was China has banned all non-self-driving cars officially,
Uh-huh.
and any ones that you manually drive, you need a special permit for. They need to be
Right.
turned in. It's
Well,
illegal.
again, that's going to be right. That's not. It's not. I mean, that's going to happen.
Yeah, right. Like,
Right.
why would I drive a car when a car could drive itself perfectly and it'll be safe until the
But
beginning of
see,
Astro Boy
lots of
happens?
people aren't going to feel that way. It's
Mhm.
going to be really interesting. Like, lots of people don't want to give up driving. Like, I
Yeah.
can't give up
Me.
driving soon enough. Like, I've driven so many cool cars in my life, and it's a miracle I have not been killed because I have driven like such an idiot in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't want to give up driving.
Yeah.
Really, that's interesting.
I
That's
would give it
interesting.
up yesterday. I would
Yeah,
I
me
would
too.
stop driving yesterday.
Me too. No, if I could get in a car and just tell it like,
Real
okay,
water.
take me to North Carolina, and I'm gonna just watch movies and read and sleep,
Yeah.
and wake me up when we get within 10 minutes of our. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
That seems
Yeah.
awesome to me.
I find it there are some really interesting things, like even just the main narrative. Going back to your point, Pinckney, about the AI,
Whoa.
like the main
Oh!
narrative of the story, I feel does some really interesting talks really interestingly about artificial intelligence and like kind of going over. Like it's interesting because like a central plot point of the story is people have engrams, which is like
Mhm.
a science fictiony version of the soul. And
Is the engram actually the soul, or is it just a mere copy?
And also,
Yeah.
at what point does it not matter if it can act like a person, has all of their memories and their impression up until that moment? Is it
Mhm.
not that person?
right.
There's
Well,
a
right. I mean, that's Turing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Turing's idea is that if it seems intelligent, it is intelligent, right?
Right.
I mean, that there's no there isn't a kind of metaphysical requirement, or that metaphysical requirement is contained within the seeming to have a metaphysical
Right.
aspect
if
of your life.
if you go to the not the graveyard, the giant stone thing with all the tombs where they keep the ashes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a conversation between father and a son talking about their mother who is in heaven,
Yeah.
and the son is like, well, my friend gets to talk to his mother and she's dead, and he's like, well, I'm sorry, but it's a really interesting conversation.
It sounds
Yeah,
really
and the
interesting.
kid says like his classmate gets to talk to his dead mom, and when he asked why, the classmate said, "Oh, it's because we're not poor like you." And so it
Ouch.
becomes a class
That's
thing of
great.
being able to
Yeah, see
literally
that
talk
I
to your
love
deceased
that.
relative.
I love that.
It was
You
a
know?
great moment.
Well, so let me just like I just want to sort of
Damn.
ask you guys some stuff about it, because it's like in a way I will play it, but I'm so interested in just in hearing about it and seeing
Yeah.
these visuals and stuff. Like I'm so happy we're at this point in our culture. You know, no, it really. I'm just
Yeah.
like I've got this. I've got a VR motion simulator waiting for me to put it together. I'm going to be flying I'm going to be flying Star Wars Squadrons by tonight with
Right,
full
right.
motion simulation.
That's kind
But
of
like
nuts.
but one of the things you look for to science fiction for, and let's say Philip K. Dick. right? And he sets his work in a future, but he's not really writing about the future, right? I mean, he's not predicting anything. He's talking about the present, but in such a way that we can see what's happening, and we don't get engaged with our own prejudices so much, right? Like, so so a political thing would have a Trump-like figure and a Biden-like figure, but they wouldn't be Trump and Biden, so we could talk about them without like getting in each other's faces about our political desires and preferences and stuff. But so, I mean, do you feel like that about this? Like, are they framing a present, or are the present questions at stake in this world? Like, do you feel yourself finding yourself or running across your own life?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like just like any really good work of science fiction, like it is somewhat of it's teasing out in more exaggerated versions of like, I think the fears, like the cultural zeitgeist fear of like a future, right? And I mean, that's what cyberpunk fiction was originally for. It was like a counteraction to yuppie Reagan 1980s politics,
It was that, as well as sort of taking the Star Trek future and saying, well, what if no?
Yeah, what if all that, but it was bad, right? Like that's kind of cyberpunk.
Oh wow! Is this your vehicle?
This is one I got from a main character,
Claire,
which I think was one of my favorites. I think my second favorite. Can I
love
get in the
that.
back of the car? Oh, cool. Oh my god.
Oh
no. Hey.
Oh no.
So I opened the stash at the back of the truck. It clipped me through the floor, and the game just broke.
Wow.
This is the first time I've ever had a bug like this.
But it broke in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, right.
Truly.
Like, I mean, at least it didn't break in some boring way and just freeze. Like,
and now it's trying to
dropped you into
respawn
hell.
me, but below the map. I see what's happening.
This is Sheol. This is this is you are in the Jewish underworld.
There's a scene in my thesis, my novel, my cyberpunk novel, where this happens to the protagonist. Like this exact thing happens to the protagonist.
Yeah.
Because he's in a virtual world and he dies, but when he dies, he accidentally clips through the floor.
Hey, now there's precedent.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, right. No, I mean that's clearly a real thing.
Yeah.
You envisioned that.
I'm just gonna.
You're welcome, CDPR. So to kind of finish up what I was saying was, I think that the thing that this game does really, really, really well that I think a lot of not as good science fiction does, and particularly cyberpunk fiction, is that so like it is like a canary in the coal mine type warning of the future, but also this is it's a world in which everybody has already kind of accepted the world on its face. Like they live in the world, so they behave as though they live in the world. They don't live in this world and behave as though they live in 2020, commenting about the future.
Okay. No. That's a powerful distinction, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's a distinction that a lot of writers have difficulty with, right? They have difficulty, and so they create characters who are like too naive to have too naive to have existed in this world, and they don't ever catch on, like they never figure it out. They're like stupid time travelers from the present.
Right.
It's like everyone knows that things are bad. So like even Johnny Silverhand, who was this huge like anti-corporate rocker boy punk, even he fought for one of the mega corporations in the corporate war.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what radicalized him.
Yeah, right. Well, and also, I mean, just you can just see it in the behavior of like every character. Like they all, like when you talk to somebody in 2020, they're like, "Oh, 2020 sucks," right? And and you're talking to a real person now, right? Like people will talk about it now, and they're like, "Yeah, I went on
Sure.
Twitter and I talked about how much I hate 2020," and then in 2077, like their vocabulary has changed, and but all the characters seem perfectly aware of the fact that they live in this world, right?
Yeah.
And they behave as though they live in the present, which I think is a good thing. Like that's a very good distinction, and I think it's something that is often overlooked. Like Pinckney was just saying, that it's overlooked because the game innately is political. Cyberpunk fiction typically is pretty political. Like it kind of can't not be, because of the way that the universe's tropes and rules have been set up. Like there's always mega corporations. There's always like whatever they call it, the like post-capitalist, late stage capitalism, that stuff. Like there's always commentary in cyberpunk fiction about stuff like that, which is why like major thematics are like advertisements everywhere. Everybody works for a corporation. Corporations take over the governments. Like it's always that. But the thing that I like about this game is that they don't talk about it like 2020 people talking about corporations taking over everything. They talk about it differently. They have it's its own world that reminds you of in certain ways about the one that you live in, right?
Right.
So I'm really happy about that.
So it is like, and I think that's the thing, right? That people who sort of talk down to games or don't, right? Like I think that would be a surprise to people who don't game.
Right.
Yeah, this works in the same way that that in the same way that a Philip Dick is a commentary on his time, our time, and all future times, right? And that's really what a prophet does, right? Is a prophet talks about that prophet's time, but if the prophet's only talking about the prophet's time, then after that time is gone, the prophet's over, right? But people we think of as prophets, we're still interested in, right?
Yeah.
We still read their work because it applies to their time, our time, and all future time.
Right.
And so, right, but I think that's a quality that most people would not grant, or people who object to like our bringing gaming and stuff like that into an MFA program, a fiction program. I don't think that they would allow that that's a quality that these things embody in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably back up 15 years, and we would be having almost the exact same conversation, except for it would be about genre fiction.
Right. Well, but I mean, but that argument still takes place, right?
Oh, I know. And that's
And again, the problem is that what they do is the folks who make that argument, oh, genre fiction doesn't belong in a literature program, or genre fiction doesn't belong in an MFA program. What they do then is when you provide them with a counterexample and say, okay, so you're saying Vonnegut is not literature, they always go, no, Vonnegut is a satirist, right? Or or he's a literary writer who's using the tropes of science fiction.
Right. Yeah, it's arbitrary.
So they always just cull off, they skim off the cream, and then anything that's too stupid for them to, thank you, David, for anything that's too stupid for them to want to claim, they simply say that's what science fiction is, that's what genre fiction is.
Right.
And it's a real problem, and it has to do some with status, and it has to do, some with, ignorance or whatever. But I mean, I really do think it's ignorance. Like I wish.
Yeah.
One of the things I want us to do in our program is build the sorts of experiences and games and stuff like that, or be able to that people can, if we could get people to play them, they would recognize the qualities that they love in literature. Right. And then so we provide a sort of gateway drug. And into the deeper stuff. And like this looks incredibly deep to me. I've watched you all play it. I don't even have to have the sound or know what's happening. It's just creating this sequence of really powerful visual.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, I would be perfectly happy to just have this on a screensaver, just doing what Matt is doing.
Finally,
Because
have
everything's
intelligence.
beautiful, the colors are beautiful, the people are individuated.
Yeah, no, I'm super impressed with the way that they were able to vary the NPCs as much as they did.
Mhm.
Like even in Grand Theft Auto, which is considered like the benchmark of this type of game, like man, the variation of the NPCs is so
Right.
good.
No, it seems
Um,
amazing.
yeah,
Right, but that's that's the quality of fiction, right? Is that in fiction, if a secondary character feels like a secondary character, you failed with that character,
yeah,
Mhm.
right? A secondary character should feel like someone who's walking through your story, but is on his way or is involved in his own story,
right.
right?
Yeah,
And so it feels like there's some of that quality here. They don't just feel like people who are in the world to sort of serve your leveling up and right
right,
and fulfilling your missions and stuff. Like they have
right,
their
right.
own things that they're doing.
Even
Yeah.
random encounters, like you'll see a mugging in a blue icon pop up on the map while you're driving, and I'll stop for the next one so you can see they all feel like real vignettes that are happening. I don't know if it's pulling from a list of like limited locations, but the staging and the encounters you find always feel so organic, like they were hand
Yeah.
placed.
Mhm.
Well, like, so the thing that I've started to try and do when I play games is like I really started to try and look at the places where the developer doesn't intend for you to look at when you're playing. Like right now, obviously, this scene, you're supposed to be looking at your car, you're supposed to be looking at the traffic ahead of you so that you can avoid it. You're supposed to be looking at your mini map so that you can see um, where you're going on a more metaphysical sense. But like
Yeah.
this building up ahead that says the X2 sweet clean speed, like that advertisement changes. I just watched it change. And that's not something that they don't even want you to look there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's not the primary
Right. There's
goal
no
of playing.
mechanic that draws your attention to the cleverness of the changing
Right.
uh, advertisement.
Right. And
Right.
but it's
Just
all
it's
just
part of the
like
world.
yeah, exactly. It's all just
Mhm.
this world building, like this constant like the world feels alive because they've put so much movement into things. Like when you just drove through into the tunnel, there was a couple of NPCs
Right.
walking along the top. They didn't exist 5 seconds ago, but they just put them there real quick just so that there was movement up there. You know what I
Well,
mean?
which of course could be true for all of it, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know that you all existed before we jumped on the.
True.
I just, it could be that, my watch told me, okay, half an hour till the stream, and then, it alerted the CPU, and the
Right.
CPU said, okay, I better spin up, I better spin up Matt and Dylan.
Yeah.
Uh,
You could absolutely be a brain in a vat. It's totally possible.
well, there's no way to know, right?
Yeah.
I think therefore I am is a flawed, like that makes a huge assumption, right? So you say I think therefore I am. It's like, well, I think therefore I think,
Right.
perhaps.
Yeah.
And so to assume your being from your thought is to sort of obviate the whole exercise of that actually being a logical series of a logical way to derive your existence.
Speaking
Right?
of,
Because right at the very first. What's that?
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, speaking of, I think therefore I am. So there's a band in this game called the Cartesian Duelists.
Oh, really?
Apparently they're a pretty big deal in this world. So that's just kind of funny that you
Right.
mentioned. Yeah.
But
Ooh, I
see,
love that
to
car.
be able to inhabit a world where there are bands,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, one of the things I love about the way my life seems to be working out is that I got to live from a time when none of this existed.
Right.
From when people were playing Pong on, like the oscilloscopes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They were programming oscilloscopes to play Pong. To this, and I've got 2 VR headsets in the room with me right now. And that seems so great. Like I get to
Right.
appreciate, like, whereas and Cleveland talked to me about this. Like people complain about this game, and stuff like that, and it's like complaining about your airplane being late. You know what I mean? It's like, but you just traveled 600 miles in an hour, like at
Right.
40,000 feet. Like you were basically in outer space.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
I know.
And if you haven't lived through that evolution, like this seems normal to you, and the fact that the game is going to have to be patched and stuff kind of pisses you off, you know?
Right,
Where
yeah.
I'm like, it's a miracle that I can even see this. Like, if this had been a movie, right? If this weren't a game, if we had just like been able to film Matt playing this game for 90 minutes in like 1982 when I
You could
graduated high
sell
school,
that, and that would be like a
it would
benchmark
have
of.
the biggest science fiction blockbuster film. Like it would have, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
not playing it, no sense that it was a game or could be interactive or that anything could happen except what Matt did. It
Right.
still is a great piece of entertainment.
Right. I mean, people would be like, I mean, if you were to drop something like this off in 1982, I think people
look
would
at
be
this
like,
guy.
have
He
we
is
made
straight out
contact?
of 1982?
Have we made contact with aliens? Like,
Right.
like what is this press F to say this dialogue? Like, what is the?
Let's press F to show respect.
Yeah, of course.
We all
right.
know that.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see if you can beat this dude because he kicked my ass about 100 times before I just gave up.
use quick hacks, and I have the non-lethal insta-kill, which is
Yeah.
how I deal with most cyber psychos, especially melee ones, because I am not melee.
Yeah.
I have not done. I haven't fought any cyber psychos because I don't know if I have any non-lethal weapons, and I tried fighting one once, and I kept missing my EMP grenade. So I just decided, oh wait until I actually have a non-lethal.
So one thing with that, they're pretty forgiving as long as you like aim center mass and don't blow their head off.
Really,
won't kill
really.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
This
like
is
the
also-
only condition.
Real quick, this is also where you get the mantis blades, by the way.
Oh, neat.
Like this alley that he's in right now.
Gotcha. See, I use the whip, so I'm not as excited as I think you want me to be, but I get it.
I mean, you can get the mantis blades right now if you go to the right and there's a box that has them in it, and you just grab them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. You don't even have to fight them. They're literally
You can
to
just
your
grab
right.
them and leave.
Yeah, which is what I did because I couldn't beat him. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of some other things that
Yeah, so
stood
like
out to me.
what other vignettes? Like what else has happened to you all that surprised and delighted and interested you? Like,
Oh my god.
"Ooh, that didn't look good."
I'm telling you, it's like you can't kill him.
So time slows down when you hover over them with your cursor for the quick hacks, but he's moving too fast even with time slowed.
Right? Yeah.
For me to
Yeah.
get him. Let me try this one more time.
Oh, okay. So here's a really cool one. So toward the beginning of the game, we're talking in the prologue, that like 3.5 hour long prologue.
Mhm.
You know when you go to the Maelstrom headquarters or hideout or whatever to get the like robot thing?
Yeah, meet Dum Dum.
Yeah, and so you remember that? What was that guy's name?
Dum Dum. DUM.
No, his boss.
Oh, I don't remember, but the head of the Maelstroms.
Yeah, he's the head of the Maelstroms. I forget his name. Maybe it was like, let's call him Jimmy. So you go to see Jimmy, head of the Maelstrom gang. The Maelstrom gang, by the way, are like the
Royce.
Royce. That's it. Royce.
There you go.
So you go to see Royce, and the Maelstrom gang is so cool. Like I wish that they were more in the game. I just love them. Like they've replaced their entire faces with like red optical implants. They're awesome. But anyway, so you go there and you can talk to him, you can buy the thing off of it, and you can try and convince him to give it to you for free, right? It's almost like a little military robot that can do stealth and like shoot people and hack shit, and it's a really high-tech piece of equipment, right? So I killed that guy. Did you guys kill that guy?
Yeah, because I sided with Militech for that one.
Yeah, right. So
Got him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's literally a quick hack towards the end that you have a lethal and a non-lethal instant kill.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a good thing to invest in.
We'll get that legendary katana, then turn right.
I got 2 legendary katanas.
Oh wow.
He dropped one and he had one on his body.
That's cool.
And so turn right is
Right there, in that box.
Sweet.
Mantis blades.
So I'll run.
So
run
is
over
there a
to-
gang called the Tigers? Tygers?
Yes.
Yeah,
they
they're
are
the
like
Yakuza.
Tiger burning
Chinese.
bright, right? I mean, like, wow, holy shit! Like, there's poetry in this thing.
Let's go
What-
to
What about
a
what
river
what
dock.
what was the
Tiger,
poetry?
tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. What immortal hand or eye has framed thy fearful symmetry? Yeah, and it is Tyger.
Yeah, yeah.
Look it up. Look it up. Type tiger, burning bright into your.
Okay, I will. Okay.
It'll be worth it.
Okay, cool. I'm excited. I was like, oh no. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, just say you don't. I mean, that's fine. Like, but I mean, these people knew what it meant.
Sure.
I'd be willing to bet you a lot of money that Tyger tiger is a poetic reference.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
You discover for yourself what it is. But see, so it's just absurd to say this isn't a brand of literature or a brand of fiction.
No, totally
I mean,
absurd. Totally.
It clearly is, and it's in its early stages, but it's pretty impressive for its reach, right? Like
Yeah.
anything that has reach like this,
Millions of copies sold.
Right. We would be fools to be indifferent to it, let alone to be antagonistic to it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because clearly what we're trying to do is reach people and, help make people empathetic and, you know what I mean? And make them smarter and, tell them good stories. And this is, like, I don't get the resistance. I don't, I can understand saying, well, whoa. I can understand saying it's not my thing,
Sure.
Or I'm
Yeah.
not-
If you don't like it, if you
It's
don't
saying that
enjoy it.
others shouldn't do it, or it is not a proper, and it's not like if our program goes over to game design, it's not like, nobody's going to be able to get, a normal MFA degree, by writing the same old boring pseudo literary bullshit, right?
Multi-generational family saga.
Yeah, yeah. Like there are a million programs. Like if you happen to stumble into ours and find out, oh gee, I'm not interested in games, go somewhere else for fuck's sake. Don't try to, pardon me, but don't try to like change our program into what you wish it were. Like you just say, like, go somewhere else. It's fine.
Or just do your own thing and don't bitch about it. Like,
Of course. Who's going to object? Nobody's going to go, oh, you can't write a novel here.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's
dumb.
dumb. It's just write a novel that's as entertaining as this. That's all. I mean, in its own way.
Yeah, I literally just drove through a city and had a great time darting in and out of traffic.
Right. See, exactly. And so it's a video game where you do that. Like, that would have been a game in and of itself relatively recently. Right?
Yeah.
If you could have made a game as good as but this is just how you get from episode to episode in this game.
Right.
Yeah. Pinckney, I don't know if you've seen the inside of this is the nicest Ripper Doc office. You can just walk on in. There's other ones that look like they're in an alley, but this is the nice one in the city.
This is a nice one. And what can you get done here?
Let's see.
Yeah, this is where he's going to install his mantis blades.
Oh,
I'm gonna swap out my mono wire, which I'm a huge fan of. I got the legendary mono
right, and
wire.
that's just the mono wire is just straight out of Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah.
Oh, explicitly like monofilament wire with a cutting edge only a molecule wild. Like it's specific. And then the Mantis blades, I'll swap those in. But yeah, you can upgrade your brain, your eyes, your circulatory system, immune system. Legs are cool. You can give yourself a double jump or a boost jump. They haven't been worth the money. They're absurdly expensive. And if you're a hacker like me, you can upgrade your operating system. So this is what gives you space.
See, like, I mean, it's actually all about the literature.
Right.
It's all references to, Johnny Mnemonic is a movie.
But it's also a Keanu Reeves movie.
Right, but it's also a story by William Gibson.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, it's all of this is generating out of literature.
All of
So
it. Yeah.
There's
to
There's
argue against its literary roots
Ready
and
for
merit,
the reveal here?
there's the
oh wow, oh I want those in real life.
me too.
And I never want them to be able to be put away. I want to
There's-
always.
There's the bite from Akira called the Yaiba Kusanagi, which is the dual reference to
Yeah.
Ghost in the Shell and Akira,
Flaming
and-
crotch man.
which are two of the most influential manga.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's packed full of all the cyberpunk references.
Well,
I
but
do-
again, not just cyberpunk references, but references to William Blake. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
like that's pretty goddamn broad. That's you know what I mean? Like writers should give their eye teeth to be able to make the sweep from the romantic poets, you know what I mean, all the way up to Major Kusanagi.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like I'm the only person I know who knows all that breadth of stuff. Yes, you know,
Yeah,
so I'm
right.
like, but these guys clearly do. That makes them my brothers.
Yeah.
Gonna run through the
Okay, so
street
can
with
you
these
give us a
out.
quick rundown on this William Blake reference that I don't understand? Because I thought the Stevenson was referencing Neil Stevenson.
Yeah, no, that's Neil Stevenson. I'm talking
Oh,
about
okay.
Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a
Um,
William Blake reference. Okay.
And then like there's a lot of Blade Runner references. Like there's
Oh, yeah.
Batty's Hotel.
Yeah,
there's-
Oh,
yeah.
really? Is it?
You could, yeah.
What is it? 8817 Unterwasser?
Blade, the
Yeah, that's
creator,
my hotel.
the creator of the tabletop game, Mike Pondsmith, is a huge Blade Runner is his favorite movie. So
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
Well, good for him.
Oh, what's your guys' favorite music station?
Let me hop in a car. To
I'm a
remind
huge
myself.
fan. I'm a huge fan of the jazz one.
The jazz
Oh,
one
yeah.
is good. I do like Night FM. There's some I'm looking for like the chill synthwave and the metal station. Those are what I usually
Pacific Dreams is the
Pacific Dreams. Yep.
See, but like the fact that there is a world where that you can enter it and you know the radio stations and the
Right.
bands, right?
Oh,
Like,
here you want to see something interesting? So
I love that
cops
they-
always have they're just kind of posted up on street corners, and if
they'll-
I cross their line, they will start aggroing me, and it'll be a good escalation.
his leg is
Whoa.
phasing through his car.
And then if I just walk off, it'll de-escalate. Now let me come in with my tennis blades.
What would it take for him to shoot you?
This.
That
Oh, wow.
And so
Oh,
the cops are like the strongest enemies in the game. They just
Yeah.
you
Really?
know, Trauma Team is.
trauma team. Okay, but they're
You can use the suicide hack on them, and their
Mhm.
guns won't even break through their armor.
Jesus Christ. That's
Yeah.
disgusting. And cops are great. They really are kind of like an ever-present threat.
Even though they spawn right behind you, when you commit a crime. They'll just appear.
Yeah,
What was I
that's been
doing?
pretty funny. That was definitely one of the things. I mean, I think it makes sense. This was something I actually wrote about because like the cop spawning thing was like a huge problem to people. People really hated it, but it wasn't
Yeah.
so much of a bother to me because like I feel like the game took it took quite a bit of time to explain to you that you should not fuck with the police. Like
Yeah.
there's a whole scene where they're like they draw specific attention to the fact that the police will annihilate anybody.
In the opening.
Yeah, in the opening, like, and like your best friend leans over to you and says, "Yeah, those are some bad motherfuckers. Like I would not fuck with them." And I was like, okay, as a character who lives here, I believe it. You know what I mean? As a player who is role playing a human being who lives in this city, I bought it.
Yeah.
And
You
so
know
I
how
did
to
everything I
survive.
could to not fuck with the police. Like and I was worried. Now that doesn't mean that the police should have like special powers where they spawn directly behind you, but I do think that I just don't think that it was meant to be that way. Like I guess what I'm saying is CDPR didn't want you to ever see the shitty police system that they put in because they just wanted you to believe it. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the things that they wanted
Yeah.
you to buy.
Yeah. It's just a given that the police are the limit.
Right. Yeah. Like, and you operate outside the bounds of the law. Like you are a mercenary who regularly commits illegal crimes. You know.
Right.
And so you should avoid them as much as you possibly can. So from like a narrative perspective,
like
it worked.
Real police.
Yeah.
You should just avoid them. Like, don't, if you see flashing lights down the road, take a different route.
Yeah, and be very polite.
Oh god.
I actually do like how you can just kind of drive off instead of having them chase you, because that really annoys me in other games where you have to like drive multiple places, where you have to like take a bunch of turns. Like it's really annoying if you're doing a mission and then you have to like outrun the cops. Like yes, it is realistic to get into a place, but a police chase, but it's annoying.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it gets in the way of the narrative.
There's legislation in this world that doesn't allow them to engage in high-speed chases, right? Like, I mean, that's in Los Angeles now. They can't legally chase you. I think I'm correct about that.
That's
in
fairly interesting.
Carbondale, they certainly can.
Yeah, we've seen that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a very interesting point. I think that's an interesting point that Cleveland is making, where once again this game goes back to its narrative. Like it's putting its narrative first and foremost, right?
Right.
And
right.
So because I agree, like when I play Grand Theft Auto or whatever and I accidentally hit a pedestrian while I'm trying to do something else, it's kind of annoying to have to take 15 to 20 minutes to get away from these damn cops so that I can continue with the story.
Yeah. Well, you think about how it used to be in Elite Dangerous, right?
Yeah.
You'd be in a hot firefight and you just accidentally, like some, guardian, some police guy would kind of coast in front of you and you'd hit him with one random round, and all of a sudden you're being hammered by a dozen authorities.
Yeah,
and
like you're chasing a pirate baron in a remote system, and you're like, that guy's killed like 100 million people, and clearly I'm shooting at him.
Right.
And the cops are like, no.
And you coasted into my path. Like, I didn't pull in front of you. You dropped down in front of me before I could get my finger off the trigger.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a problem, right? And and there are worlds where, you just locate your fiction in a world where, unless you're screwing with them, the police just don't care that much about you.
Right.
Right.
And that's kind of this world to a T.
And it makes perfect sense. You just align the world so your narrative works within that world.
Yeah.
You don't have to align your narrative to some world you imagine your reader or player already knows about, right? Like, I mean, but again, that's the MFA game, right? Like they're like, well, I don't believe this person would do that. It's like, well, you wouldn't do it, but that's because you're a boring fuck.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Make your character someone interesting. And it's so weird. Like in an MFA program, I say something that simple, right? Like, well, just make your character someone who would do plotty type things. And they act like their characters get handed to them by God and they have nothing to do with it, or like making up someone who is like belligerent or, had ambition is just way beyond them, I'm like, that's literally what storytelling is about, is people who aren't like everybody around. Like,
oh my God. I had just a real quick aside and then we'll start talking about this again. So the class I was taking this semester, we were reading each other's TV pilot scripts, right, toward the end of the semester, and I had just gotten through 45 pages of this dude's pilot, and nothing had happened, right? And it culminates in this story where these two brothers are playing street basketball against each other at some park, and one of them takes a shot from half court and he misses, and then the other one gets the ball. And there's a big dramatic kind of buildup where I was looking and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And he takes a shot and then he misses. And then it ended. And I was like, you're not even gonna have one of the brothers make the damn shot? Like, you're gonna be that crotchy, like that prudish.
Right. No, but see, that's just denying pleasure,
Right.
right? And there's something so perverse
Right.
in the desire to deny pleasure.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
but
and I didn't even care who made it.
Academia is now built around, and certainly the arts in academia are built around denying other people pleasure.
Yeah.
And something that's pleasurable can't be literature.
Right.
You know, even though these are all people who play games, or for the most part, right? I mean,
Right.
they engage in the culture and they want to make art that they don't in their own lives enjoy or partake of or support with their money or their energy.
Right. Well, and they also, I mean, they like you would say, like, oh, what's your favorite book? And they're like, oh, Lord of the Rings. It's like,
right. You're like, oh yeah. So nobody ever, makes a basket in Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Like they're chopping heads off in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
A Hobbit even made golf by taking a orc's head off.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I asked him, like, why doesn't one of the brothers make the shot? And he was like, well, I mean, he started like quoting statistics. Like he was like, well, I mean, the statistical likelihood of somebody making a shot from half court is like one.
That's nuts.
What?
Like stories are literally about people not worrying about statistical likelihoods, right?
Oh man, I wonder why it's called fiction.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
It's crazy. So where are we now? This looks nice, Matt.
I am in the downtown city center, and I wanted to check out their clothing store. So this is the clothing store of the rich and wealthy, and literally my first line when I walked into the salesman is, I always wanted to spend a shitload of eddies on new clothes. And he's like, well, you come to the right place. I'm just checking out.
Guns and stuff like that?
There are gun shops everywhere.
Oh, is that your stuff over on the left?
Yeah, this is my gear on the left.
There's even gun vending machines.
Oh yeah.
See, libertarian paradise, baby. Gun vending.
Trying to see.
The gun vending machines are great. I love those. I spent $90 on a pistol and I thought it was hilarious. Like I was walking around with it just like, this is so funny. I can't believe.
They're great. You can't reload them, but for like the little bit you can use them, they're hilarious.
They're so cool.
That is really funny. So you get it from a vending machine, and it's just like it's just preloaded.
Yeah.
And you can use it until it's out of ammo, and then it's just a throwaway.
And it looks like a toy gun. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And they should. I hope they in their canon, the machine is actually printing the gun for you.
It is. Yeah. They look 3D printed.
Yeah. No, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Like it should just be a 3D printer. And actually, there should be like vending machines for anything that could be 3D printed within a certain form factor.
Right. Totally.
I love this jacket.
Oh, look at you, Matt.
So stupid.
Very good.
I had Johnny Silverhand's jacket. I've been hanging on to it. It's pretty cool.
And I buy that as Matt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
Like I like the fact that you can be a kind of future Matt.
Yeah.
And if I take my headband off, it has my actual hair.
Beautiful.
That's what pissed me off is the I think it's for like almost every like interesting hairstyle is headwear just eliminates it. And like Dylan was saying, when you look at yourself in the mirror, it takes the clothing off, but it doesn't restore the hair.
Yeah, so you're just
but it'll fix that, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully.
it'll all get fixed.
It seems like it's a weird oversight, like a very
I've been playing as
something people want, right? Is like you part of the pleasure of a game like this is curating your own appearance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because otherwise, why do you have a clothing store?
And one of the favorite things is the pieces of armor. I don't really care what I'm wearing. I've worn like a overcoat and a mini skirt and boots, right? Because that's just the highest armor class. And one of the, if it's incidental, if it's on purpose, whatever, one of the biggest pleasures I have with this game is dressing like an absolute moron.
Right.
Running around this world and no one batting an eye. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Yeah. What were you saying, Cleveland?
I'm playing as a girl because I really like the voice actress Jeremy Lay. She's one of my favorites. So.
Yeah, I'm pissed off you can't modify your sex or gender or your appearance in any way.
That seems weirdly not cyberpunk, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
in
I would say
a cyberpunk world, you should be able to go into any shop and be like, okay, I want to be.
And here's the thing: those modifications exist canonically in the world.
Like
from
Claire,
River
right?
Rocks.
Like Claire is a fully transitioned.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's insane. I mean, during this play session, I literally delivered a guy whose genital implants were malfunctioning to
Oh,
a
is that
quest.
what was wrong with that guy?
That was yep, Mr. Hot Pants or whatever his name was. And he just called me back and paid me. Yeah, his black market dong was malfunctioning, and I had to get him to a river
Yeah,
dock.
so this is clearly like I love the idea that this is not just fiction, but it's a fiction generator.
Right.
Right? That you come out of this with stories you can tell other people
Right.
that are interesting and
And I didn't realize how different things got until I've been talking to you guys and my other buddy who's playing like a straight melee build. His situations are completely different. Like that first encounter with Maelstrom and Dum Dum, I talked them down, and my buddy's like, "Oh yeah, they got in my face," so I fucking dropped all of them. I just like literally punched their heads in, and then they weren't characters in the game anymore. And this later thing was completely different, and I didn't even realize that could happen. Right?
Yeah. No, that was actually what I was gonna finish saying a little bit ago, was that because of me killing Royce, that came back. Like, I mean, I'm at 48 hours into this game, and that decision that I made in hour 1, finally came back. And it was like, because I killed that guy in hour 2, 45 hours later, it had a narrative payoff.
Did you free Brick too?
I don't even know what that is. So
Okay, so Royce. So as you learn in the conversation with Dex, Royce was deposed by Royce deposed Brick, who is the previous leader. And during that mission, during the escape, you can find a room where they locked Brick in, and you can disable the mine that is sort of set. Yeah.
I just kind of trusted that he was dead.
No, he's.
Also, I do love motorcycles because you can take them anywhere. And this
Oh,
park,
wow.
this is the first natural area, even the desert outside.
I didn't even
This
know
is in the
that this
downtown. I
existed.
didn't know this place existed, but I accepted a quest. And it's taking me, I mean, into the city center. And we haven't even talked about the design of the map and the world.
Well, I mean, we can. Do you want to play again next week? Like,
we can keep going with
haven't
this.
anything like exhausted my interest in this game.
There's another like the only other natural area I can really think of is in city center. It's where you meet the Buddhist monk who gives you the brain dance, which is if you haven't done that, it is one of the most phenomenal quests. You literally do nothing, but it is this phenomenal quest.
I think I got confused when you mentioned that. So I met one where there's a monk, and his buddy got kidnapped by Maelstrom and was forced cybernetics on him. And you have to go rescue the other monk.
There's that one, but there's another one in city center in this sort of really like green forested area. I believe it's on the border between like city center and the Valentinos area.
So like here? No, Valentinos is south. So like somewhere around here?
Yeah.
Where I am now?
It's somewhere around that border, and there's this like really cool green area that's like under a bunch of overpasses.
I mean, that's kind of this might be it.
Maybe
I might have just come to a different angle, but I'm kind of anticipating.
Yeah, if you see like a Buddhist monk on a bench, you're about to do one of the.
Yep. Here we go.
Wow, that was convenient.
Speak of the.
Let's roll. Let's do this.
Oh, it's me. I wondered where.
I think one week we should like answer if we have an audience, we should let them ask questions and see if we can answer them.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been monitoring chat. I haven't really gotten anything. We got 2 followers though, so thank you. Who
Oh,
am
you
I?
want to call them out?
1776
Good to know.
and
I have
Ottermania.
actually not been looking or monitoring the stream this week.
Yeah, I have not either.
I called him out
Um,
in chat, but I just didn't say it.
Well, as we're winding down, give him a verbal shout out. Thank you, random people that Dylan will now mention.
Yeah,
that
who
I'm
am I?
forcing him to mention.
1776 and Ottermania, who I'm pretty sure are both not here anymore, but thank you for the follow anyway. But yeah, that was.
Well, Matt, since you're here, do you want to record whatever happens with this monk, and we can look at it next week or look at the highlights?
Yeah. If anyone has to dip, Dylan, can you chill for a few minutes while
Yeah,
I run this quest, and that'll be saved in the VOD, and then you guys can look at it later on YouTube and just jump to the end of this session.
Yeah, cool. All right,
Can you,
gents.
hey, can you send me a link?
Yes.
Can you take?
I'll shout it out right now. It's just Neophyte Studios on YouTube. You can find it through our stream page on Twitch.
Cool.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Very
All
cool.
right, gents. See you next week. Have fun with the monk.
Thank you. I'll watch this later because I love this.
Yeah,
quest.
I really want to see
I'm
this.
just like, no, you've talked it up. I'm really. This is
Yeah.
a cool faction that I was disappointed I didn't get to spend more time with. So I'm
The
I'm
monks, the Buddhist monks. Yeah. All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
We don't have game audio, so
We don't have game audio this whole time.
no, we haven't had game audio at all.
Well, that's just a problem with the stream.
With your
I
stream?
wonder why streaming to Discord and you're capping Discord doesn't.
Yeah,
We'll
I don't
sort
know.
it out.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's all subtitled.
Yeah, and we had a pretty heavy conversation going on over
Yeah,
it.
that was why I didn't really go after it. I was like, whatever, we're gonna be talking the whole time anyway.
Yeah. So say something interesting while I'm trying to read this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dance. Take some money, friend. I got plenty.
I'm interested in how this stuff pans out and how the game gets supported over the next like 6-ish months. Because like
Well,
a lot
yeah,
of the
that'll
things
be
that
it, right?
well, a lot of the things that people are bitching about, Witcher 3 had the same problem. And
Yeah.
and within 6 months, I mean, you couldn't cut Geralt's hair when
Mhm.
Witcher 3 came out.
But also, right, that's a. So I didn't bring it up so far, but since we're still streaming, I can kind of talk about it. I've been really sorting through what I don't like about Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And part of it's they're kind of caught between like a character-driven RPG like The Witcher and a
Mhm.
player-driven RPG like a D&D open-ended thing.
Fallout type.
And sometimes it talks to the character V, and sometimes it talks to your V, your avatar. And they're not always the same, even
Yeah.
though V has a very straightforward motivation of make money, be cool, be epic. I'm not an overly aggressive player. I play mostly non-lethal because it gives me that option, and I see the kind of place Night City is, But the other characters talk to me like I'm a fucking psychopathic killer, and that I won't bat an eye at dropping 50 bodies.
Right.
Um,
I agree. It's not to use apparently the most apparently this is the most hated term among the gaming community, but it's something called ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah. I found out that a guy at Ubisoft, a guy at Ubisoft is the one that coined that term.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I agree. I think it's a little bit strange, but I don't think it's any worse than any other RPG.
No, it just seems genuinely odd given the scope of the game.
I think so I guess the point that I'm trying to make is I think that the reason why it is so stand out in this game is because the narrative is so much better than your typical RPG is.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that. Like,
Yeah.
my main complaints about the game are actually like, I just don't like Johnny. I just,
Oh no, I had a moment with him that kind of turned that around.
yeah.
When you visit his
I'm
grave.
pretty sure I had the same moment. Are you talking about the grave?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it took me, that being optional, it took me so long to get there, and he was such a jackass the
Yeah.
entire rest of the game, like, and then the game treated like we had those sort of moments
Right.
before I got that scene.
Yeah, I felt it's weird
So
because
that
many of the
that was
relationships
actually
feel
really
super
cool.
developed in this game, but the one with Johnny
Mhm.
doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of you doing stuff for him, and
Yeah.
like he saves you, I guess, but like you never really see it. Like you don't.
I thought he would be more of a mentor type figure,
Yeah.
and then you're at odds with him because he's actually out of date.
Yeah. Well, and I like his antagonism. I like that he's kind
Mhm.
of like he is an antagonist in the game, and that he is innately kind of in your brain, but like I don't know, like story structure dictates that there are moments in which you come together, but like the moments in which you come together are some of the worst written moments in the game. Like the grave is a legitimately good scene. That's a
Yeah.
good piece of writing, right? But there's
Yeah.
not enough of those. And they're
It
not,
doesn't feel like a tight story that's
yeah.
building in steps,
Yeah. hmm Like
Um,
that's
Here's
something
Judy,
that,
on the other hand, though. Her
right.
story has been fantastic. Her
Judy's
and Pan
still,
Am.
yeah, Pan Am story is really great. Still, by far, my favorite thing that I've done in the game is help Judy find the lady at the beginning. By far, like that was my
Yeah.
favorite story in the whole game. It was so good, and
Yeah, and I'm approaching the end of her story.
I just finished
She
that one.
had Eve's funeral, and now I'm at this part. Yeah, I think the first secondary quest line that I finished was Pan Am, because I was so invested with the nomads, and
Yeah,
like getting that tank at the end, like that is a reward.
yeah, no, that was cool. I like that storyline. I liked it. The sex scene was like what, but
Cool concept.
it was
Every
cool.
sex scene in this mature game, fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, well, it's just
Absolutely. I'll go out on a limb. It looks so awkward. It is
yeah.
so embarrassing.
I'm glad that they
Great
do it.
concept for
But
that scene in
yeah.
particular, though.
But man, are the sex scenes not sexy? Like it's two
Oh.
mannequins bumping into each other. It's so
But like worse than like in The Witcher 3 is
yeah,
the thing, because they spend so much time. It's not just flash, 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 and you're out of it. They sit there. They think it's so artistic, and it is so uncomfortable.
yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It's not. I was not a big fan. I mean,
And they're
whatever.
not
Like
skippable too. That's the
yeah.
other one.
Well, and like from a narrative perspective, I'm happy that they did it. I'm glad that there are sex
Mhm.
scenes in the game because I am kind of annoyed that like what Pinckney says, I am kind of annoyed about fiction being sexless. Like
Yeah.
it
Oh
just
yeah.
it's weird and I don't
Yeah.
like it. So I'm glad that it's there, but like just cut to black and make kissy sounds, you know? Like I don't need the
No,
fucking
in this instance, it would have been the better option.
yeah, it would have been.
But
Anyway,
I mean, on that front, and this is the last thing I'll say, is that the characters' attitudes towards sex are what's mature, that
yeah.
I found, and
Yes.
less so the actual execution, like the sex shops that are just loaded with dildos along the wall,
Yeah.
all the walls, and that's edgy. Like
Yeah, it could have been more creative, but whatever.
it's yeah, it just it's tying it back to narrative, it's like you're shooting for this big complicated thing, and you're kind of hitting it like in a childish low ball, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't deliver.
Well, they did really cool stuff with like the Pan Am relationship, like that whole
Yeah.
like linking the brains thing, that was really cool. And I don't know
Yes.
why they didn't like, and it was super creative. And then they're
Hmm.
like, so people can do that in this world. But most people, they just go to like the giant dildo shop and buy like dildos. Like, and it
Mhm.
was like, well, why isn't there like shops where that you can, buy that thing?
Yeah.
That
Why
like,
didn't you think that aspect of human
Yeah.
relationship? And like Judy makes BDs, and like
Yeah.
I know like each of the secondary characters has their like pronoun and genital preference of who
Yeah.
you can romance. Like they're actual people
Yeah.
in kind of a post-binary world. But like I would be disappointed if you romance Judy and you take the sex scene and her character is not reflected in her sexuality. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, that makes sense.
which I'm just going out on a limb and assuming it's not. I might be wrong though.
Yeah.
This car though, the Cthulhu, I don't know. I think I need it. It has a shark fin. It is a literal shark fin.
It looks like the Batmobile. But anyway, you go ahead and go find that
Nice.
Batmobile,
Yeah, and
And,
we'll wrap up for now.
and we will reconvene post Christmas.
Cool.
All right. Later.
See you later.
Goodbye, people.
Goodbye, everyone, our adoring public. Goodbye.